for me, the biggest thing I have to highlight for brand partnerships is my experience, to be able to say, I've been doing this for 12 years. Like you talked about your corporate skills translating to this job too. Like I always respond to emails in a timely manner. If I ever need to reschedule anything or if something's going to be late, I will let you know. I will explain what the plan is to keep moving forward. That's part of what makes me a good partner.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. So today we are going to have a little chat with one of my dear friends, Austen. I actually met her through this app called Clubhouse. So if you guys are familiar with Clubhouse, it's kind of like a live streaming, like audio platform. And at its peak, it was something that both Austen and I looked forward to being in every single day. And it was really so nice to connect on a level of the fact that it's really possible to become a full-time content creator and make substantial income as a content creator by being a micro-influencer, that you don't need hundreds of thousands of followers in order for you to succeed, in order for you to create livable income and not have it be a side hustle forever. And so let me just read a little bit about Austen. So Austen is a fashion and beauty content creator and entrepreneur based in New York City after launching her blog in 2012 and creating content consistently while working as a magazine editor at Nylon and Interview and a content director at a tech startup. Austen built up her platforms and quit her 9-to-5 job to go full-time with content creation in April of 2021. Austen is passionate about sharing her life as a self-employed creator, from teaching other creators how to monetize and sharing her morning routine, favorite beauty finds, outfits, and so much more. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode.
Hey guys, well, welcome back to my podcast. And we are in the room with my dear friend Austen. I'm so happy for her to jump into this, have a little chat with me, because both her and I kind of share the same journey of becoming full-time influencers, content creators as micro-influencers. And I think that's definitely kind of a testament that you don't need a lot of followers to make things happen in this space and be successful in this space. Yeah, welcome.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so happy to be here, especially because your content and what you share and the way you help content creators is exactly what I wish I had when I first got started.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm just so appreciate your transparency and your honesty and the way you approach your content. And I know that your audience obviously does as well.
Yeah.
So.
Honestly, for me, that was the goal. For me, I was when I got started, I didn't have any of this support. I did not know anything. And even with other influencers that I was kind of gauging the information, or if there's information that they can share, they didn't really have any or wanted to share. And so I wanted to be that person for the next wave of influencers and creators. And so thank you. That means a lot. And I love this because Austen and I kind of met in Clubhouse, and this is kind of the type of conversations that we would have.
Oh my God. And actually Clubhouse is something that I miss every single day, just because at its peak, in early 2021, I would say, it was just so much fun. It was so engaging.
Right.
I think because I was hosting rooms with my friend Tanisha, and I think at one point there were probably 100+ people listening live in those rooms. So I loved that audio format. I do think that's kind of how I first fell in love with it. And then that later led into I have a podcast, you have a podcast. The Clubhouse people found a way to continue on even without Clubhouse, you know?
Yeah, I love that. That was the one thing that I looked forward to at the end of my day, and then when I wake up, when I'm getting ready, I'm just it was awesome, because I was okay, I can chime in and then I can just listen in, and it was great.
It was so reassuring to have a place to touch base with other creators, hear what everyone was up to that week. And because being self-employed, you might not necessarily have that typical, everyone's having a weekly touch base or an all hands meeting or anything like that. It kind of did feel that was what
you had
we had.
coworkers.
Absolutely. I love my creator coworkers who I can like text or DM or be like, did you hear about this partnership? Or like, what's the deal with this video? Like, why is this trend going off right now? Like, you do find your creator community, which is always appreciated.
Right. I love that. Tell me a little bit about your story, like how you got started as a content creator, what you do now.
Well, it all started with a blog in 2012 called Keep Calm and Chiffon, which if you had told me that 12 years later I would still be writing for my blog and posting it and that the blog name would be trademarked and all this stuff, like,
that's so amazing.
I truly would not have believed you. So I started out as a blogger. I saw these other fashion bloggers specifically who were just creating their own like editorial worlds. They were doing these incredible photo shoots. They started getting invited to Fashion Week. They started getting gifted things from brands, which traditionally was a route that I had known that you could take kind of as a magazine editor. So I actually did a bunch of internships in college with the hope that I could land a role at a magazine, which I did end up doing. So I worked at Nylon first and then Interview in print editorial. So I would contribute to digital from time to time just because like I was young and new on the team. I wanted to have my hands in a bunch of different things and I was willing to do it, even though I was getting paid like a terrible salary at the time. And so I'm grateful for the opportunities that I had to like contribute to digital while I was still doing print, which was my like original love, you know, getting a print magazine in the mail back in like 2006, 2010.
Yeah, I was one of those.
I would run to my mailbox to look for them because I just did not like, you know what I mean? I just always looked forward to flipping through those pages, like living in a New Jersey suburb. That was always my gateway to like the fashion and beauty industries. So I worked those jobs and was blogging on the side still. I actually got laid off from both roles. So that kind of led me into doing more freelancing, and I was able to do freelance writing thanks to my connections. So I've written for publications like Teen Vogue, Refinery 29, Bustle, Birdie, HuffPost, lots of great places that I'm super grateful to have had bylines in. And at the time, I also kind of started taking my blog more seriously. So at the time, I would say like probably 60% of my income was coming from freelance writing. Maybe 10% was coming from like some copywriting work that I didn't love, but I was doing. And then I think about 30% at the time was coming from like my blog and social media. And it was just crazy to me, excuse me, that after all that time of me just like posting for fun, that like I could be posting for work also. Like it kind of, the line started to blur between, is this just something I'm doing for fun or is this actually a job? Because people started taking it more seriously, which in turn really made me take it more seriously. And then I went on to work at a tech startup for a year and a half, but I left that role in April of 2021 to go full time with content creation. And to date, I still currently have fewer than 100,000 followers across all platforms. So I think that, you know, what you preach really rings true for me, that like if you are smart and savvy and you have, you know, like multiple income streams and you know your value, you can absolutely make a career in content creation work no matter your audience size.
Right. Yeah, I totally believe that. And obviously a living testament to it because, you know, a lot of people still have that, I guess, like mindset that like, okay, I just want to have 1 million followers or like 100,000 followers. And then when they get there, they're like, okay, where's the money? And they haven't seen it. It's just like, no, you should have been working towards it while you were growing and working on both sides of the coin. You touched on this a little bit of like having multiple streams of income. Like how did you decide, you know, to expand outside of like, you know, brand deals and expanding outside of just, you know, your blogging and like content creation and things like that? Like what made you decide that you needed to have multiple streams of income?
Yeah, I mean, brand deals really is the bread and butter of the industry, like you just said. And when I first started monetizing, that was the way I was making money. I had also signed up for LTK, but like at just such a small scale, affiliates were not really like a big income stream for me at all.
It's either really good or like just okay.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I created my first digital product actually as a result of me sharing my freelancing journey on social media, because people started asking like, wait, how are you writing for like Teen Vogue? Or like, how are you working with Garnier? Like you have such a small blog, like where did they find you? How did you find them? And as a magazine editor, I received and sent many pitches in my time there.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I really had mastered like the art of pitching, so to speak. So I started getting DMs from people, and I would literally sit there and type back like these long replies. Like my thumb started to hurt. And I was like, there must be a better way to like let people know all of this information. So that's when I got the idea to create an ebook. So I created my first ebook right on pitch in 2019. And
so cool.
It has now been updated like 4 times since I originally published it. The price has increased, but to date, like I've sold over 500 copies of that ebook in over 25 countries, which is so cool just to hear that this is a really helpful resource for people that translates across, you know, whether you are writing and pitching for magazines and publications or you're pitching brand partners. It was just such an easy, accessible way for me to say, let me just make it a low-cost ebook. So if someone asks, I can always like send them, you know, maybe a free resource like on YouTube or something. But if they really want like my step-by-step plan and advice, like I think I should be charging for that. So that was the first digital product I created, which kind of then gave me a trickle effect of other things. At the time in 2019, I also qualified for the YouTube Partner Program where I could start earning ad revenue from my YouTube channel. And then in 2020, I really started to learn more about SEO for my blog to qualify for the She Media Ad Network, where I also make ad revenue from my blog now too. So that was kind of the snowball effect of like, okay, I think there's more out there. I think there's more of these income streams that I could be taking advantage of. And the best part was that some of them were more passive than, you know, brand deals for me is such an active income stream because you have to be very involved in pitching, negotiation, obviously creating the content, editing, distribution, analytics, reporting. Like that is all very active. Whereas when I create and share content on YouTube, I could be making ad revenue from a video I posted years ago. Which is really exciting.
Yeah, totally. I know. I recently had a TikTok video go viral and it's still generating revenue for me, which is kind of cool. But then I was just like, oh, like it was like poorly filmed. The audio was crap because I filmed it outside. But people were still like watching it. It was just like really fun. I did want to ask you, like, what has been one of your favorite like brand deals that you've ever done?
Oh man, that's an amazing question. I think as a recent example, I actually did a partnership over last holiday season with Walmart, and it was a Pinterest exclusive partnership.
Cool.
It's the biggest partnership that I've done to date, which was really exciting, but I also got to be super involved in like the planning and execution process of it.
Wow.
I got to work with a creative agency who basically helped me like produce, I think we did 6 or 7 or maybe we even did 8 high quality like Pinterest videos to show Walmart's holiday finds.
Wow.
We did a whole series of like, I did a hosting section, I did a gift giving section, I did a fashion and beauty section.
That's
And
so cool.
they also created 2 assets that kind of like combined everything together and just pitched and positioned Walmart as like the go-to destination for like all your holiday needs.
Nice.
And that I actually got pitched to Walmart by someone from Pinterest, which was really cool to kind of have someone like suggest me.
It's such an untapped like platform.
Well, it's funny because I've been on Pinterest since 2010, like basically since it came out. And when I first started out, it was just like curating, you know, random images. It was like, oh, let me save some stuff. And then I remember I posted a picture of my college dorm room, very like Urban Outfitters, very 2012, you know, like tapestry on the wall, like all of these unique pillows, like records, like around the room. And that pin went viral and started giving me like my first batch of Pinterest followers too. So as we speak, Pinterest is actually currently my largest platform. Like it's the platform I have the biggest following on, which is maybe why I was a good fit for this Walmart partnership. But it was just so incredible. They also like gifted me a lot of the products, which I was able to keep. Like I got a record player from that and like a cool camera and stuff like that. So they were just like so amazing, and they really let me script videos. Like I felt like my personality came through so much in that partnership, and it's because they trusted me and gave me a lot of leeway.
Pinterest is such an untapped like platform for so many, like most creators, and so but it's been around for such a long time, and like it's also like a way for you to get things or like be able to monetize things, like even from posts that you've done or pins that you've done from like years years ago.
Absolutely. And I think that for me, my biggest like goal with Pinterest is always to drive traffic back to my long form content. So even if someone isn't, shopping from me necessarily straight on Pinterest, if they find a pin that links back to a YouTube video I've created or a blog post I've written, just the fact that they visit that piece of content and watch an ad is helping me make money from the ad revenue. So they don't even need to be buying something from an affiliate link or be hiring me to do something. Even that watch time and that time spent on my website all helps contribute to ad revenue and helps me make money.
So if I were to start with Pinterest, and I've never done Pinterest before, for all the creators that are listening, what would be your best advice to get started with it?
I think the best thing about Pinterest is it's such a great platform to really amplify what you've done already. So you can absolutely repurpose content from other platforms. I mean, if it's photo content that's vertical, it's good to go. If it's any video content, I would just, keep it kind of quote clean and fresh is what I usually tell people. So fresh in the sense that you haven't already uploaded it to Pinterest, and then clean in the sense that, an ideal world, there's not a watermark for TikTok on it, or there's not a copyrighted audio. But if you just have a video, on your camera roll with no audio where you're showing an outfit, that's perfect to upload to Pinterest.
So just raw B-roll.
You could absolutely upload raw B-roll, and then from there, just doing a little bit of just quick keyword research, like going to Pinterest and typing, summer outfit and seeing what it autofills with. So if it's summer outfit jeans and that's what you're wearing, just making that the title is already one small thing you can do to just help that pin get in front of more people. So
that's awesome.
I would take an hour if you have it, put your favorite comfort show on in the background. For me, that's either Gilmore Girls or Gossip Girl, the GGs.
Oh, wow.
And just schedule in some content. You can schedule one pin to go out every day of the month if you want. If you have 30 pieces of content, just schedule them. Then you're posting for the first month. And after that first month, you can evaluate, see how things did and make any adjustments if you need to.
That's cool. What made you feel comfortable to leave your 9 to 5? Because I know so many people kind of have this crossroads of I'm juggling my 9 to 5 and then content creation. What was that push that made you think, okay, I'm ready to go at this full time? Especially you being in this space for so long. It's always been kind of a side hustle. What was that event for you?
For me, entrepreneurship was always something in the back of my mind. And I kind of did have a stint as a freelancer, but I didn't really choose to put myself in that position. It was just because I had gotten laid off that I was well, I have rent to pay, so I got to make something work. So to be able to cognitively choose to leave on my own was a really big deal for me. One big reason that I did was just because my role at my 9 to 5, which I actually really did love, had just changed a lot as a result of the pandemic. So I was originally supposed to be managing fashion and beauty categories, which kind of took a hit around the time that COVID started. So I got delegated to other areas of the company where I was super grateful to still have a job, especially since so many people got laid off during that time. But I ended up working on projects and doing things that really just weren't what I originally had signed up for when I took the job. So that kind of was a sign to me maybe I should start thinking about this and taking it more seriously. So at that point, to me, the two biggest things were proof of concept and also proof of income. So like you said, I had been doing it for about 8 years at that point as my side hustle. So the fact that after 8 years that I was still taking the time to be oh, I want to get something up on Instagram this week, I should do a blog post, that desire to create never really went away during that time. If anything, it was only growing stronger in the background. And then for me, the proof of income was big too, because in both 2019, I believe, and 2018, when I was freelancing, I was able to bring in 5 figures of income from content creation.
Nice. Even
with it being, something that I was balancing with freelance writing and some other projects. So that to me, even if it was the low 5 figures to start out, was well, if I could do that as a side hustle, what if I was actually spending all of my time and energy on this? I will also add, I saved up a 6-month emergency fund of expenses because living in New York City, I didn't want to take any chances. So that gave me big peace of mind knowing that I can leave. I also was able to work out a 3-month contract with my employer at the time where I was like freelancing for them for 3 months after. So that was kind of a bit of like guaranteed additional income just to kind of ease me out, and also to like still help them in some ways too, because, you know, they actually never ended up replacing me because the company got acquired later on. But even just to like still have me as kind of a brand ambassador, or like showing up on social media every once in a while, still talking about them, like it really worked out to be mutually beneficial. So I think really just having a plan and just trusting, you really have to trust yourself also, right? That's like such a big part of it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like I talk to so many like influencers and creators, and a lot of them just have their confidence shot because they don't think they can make it happen. And like for me, like being kind of like, you know, seeing, you know, all of these things happening for creators and influencers that I work with, I'm just like, it's totally possible. And like, I'm seeing it because I've seen it happen, but like they haven't. And so it's just kind of like that thing that just, you know, is always lingering in the back of your mind that it won't work. But like, what if it does? You know what I mean?
And I think also, like, we have so much flexibility in our careers now. Like, people change jobs now a lot more often than they used to.
Before, yeah.
And, like, worst case scenario, like, you could always go get another job. But to me, it was just like a if you never try, you'll never know thing. So I'm super happy that I took the leap of faith when I did. And, you know, I spoke to, like, my family even, and my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, and, you know, kind of laid out, like, here's exactly what I'm thinking. And again, at the time, I think I had like 4 income streams, and now I have more like 7. So I was like, here's what I want to launch in the future. Here's how I want to continue to grow things. And
that's cool.
I mean, no one really put up a fight or questioned that I could do it. I think I was just so determined to make it happen that I was able to do it, which I'm really proud of.
That's good. My parents were kind of like on the fence about it for me. Like they would still, it would be like my dad would silently send me job listings.
Be like, you would be great at this.
Yeah, I mean, it was like because I mean, so I used to be an engineer, and he's also an engineer, and so I kind of like was taking on his footsteps, and so that was very important to him that, you know, we shared that bond together, and so he was like sending me a little bit of it. But now that he knows, or like they understand that like a lot of the skills that I've acquired in corporate like has transferred over to what I do now, they're just like so like behind it 100%. And so like I have an uncle who still does that, who still sends me job listings, and then my dad was just like, stop, like don't do it anymore.
It's like, she's good, we promise.
I get it. You know, they just want you to be good, especially because entrepreneurship is so like up and down, and you really have to be disciplined, and you really have to have a game plan in order to kind of succeed and like stay afloat. It's funny because you told me how many income streams you had. That was like my next question, but I did want to kind of piggyback off of what you said of, you know, worst case scenario, you can always go back to a 9 to 5 or like get back, you know, find a job in case like, you know, this whole thing is not going the way that you want it to. I know there's been a discourse, I don't know if you like have seen this on your TikTok, but like I've seen it so much on my For You page of like creators, you know, talking about, oh, I don't like being a full-time creator anymore, and I want to go back to a 9 to 5, or like I have gone back to a 9 to 5, all that stuff. Like, what are your thoughts around that?
It's so interesting because I think that, you know, about 3 or 4 years ago, like when TikTok really started taking off, and the way that it like democratized content creation and made it so easy for anyone who had maybe wanted to start a YouTube channel but had never had the filming equipment or knew how to edit long form content, like to make a 15-second video that went viral suddenly made content creation so accessible. But I think in terms of long-term success and longevity in this career, I actually feel like short form platforms are a little counterintuitive to like what it actually means to build a long-term brand and have long-term success on a platform. And I think the reason for that is because at the height of TikTok, when, you know, people were really posting and growing, everyone was like, make sure you're posting 3 times a day, make sure you're posting 5 times a day if you can, quantity over quality every single time. And I think that that can really burn you out creatively. So I think that people who kind of came up in the TikTok and Reels ecosystem from a content creation standpoint, I think there's no surprise that it's not as enjoyable, or that you can burn out more easily, because it's just the nature of how to find success and how to stay in the good graces of the ever-present algorithms that really is the motivation behind creating the content versus creating what you want to create because you like creating it. So I think that creators who have come up in the space in the last 3 years who have primarily grown on TikTok and Reels are really starting to feel that fatigue and are really starting to look for other avenues to, you know, create and ways to also take breaks. And even on the other side of it, I've seen content creators who started out as bloggers like me who transitioned to Instagram and maybe also do TikTok or maybe also do a few other things who have been posting less frequently too, because over time, like, we have all created so much content out in the world. Yeah. There is a lot more competition now. There is a lot more noise now, and you can still break through it, but the nature of the competition, how much we're creating, how much we're consuming, it's really tiring.
It is. We're all chronically online.
We are all chronically online, and I've actually been talking about even just taking like a week-long Instagram break where like I don't want the app on my home screen, I don't want to see it, and I just realized I've never done that before, which is absolutely insane.
Right, I've never done that before, and I know like my friends who do that on a regular basis, and I'm just like, how do you do it? Like, because sometimes I'm like, I communicate with you guys like through Instagram, like if I turn it off, what do I do?
Yeah, and I also think, and maybe you've seen this like from your side of the business too, like, you know, brand deals are amazing, and if you can lock in like long-term repeat brand collaborations, that's always key. But if you are someone who did a lot of one-off brand partnerships that were really high in value and thought, oh, great, like I'm making, you know, maybe you're making 10K from one TikTok partnership. Maybe you're making even upwards of that. And you're thinking, oh, great, I'll quit my job. But then you don't maintain those relationships, or you know, the brands are seeing other creators who are up and coming now and they want to work with them too. Like, it is so much more competitive than it used to be. And I even have noticed like a decrease of legitimate brand partnership offers. I mean, you post on TikTok and Instagram quite a lot with, you know, kind of crazy asks that brands like to send creators, but it's true. Like, I get a lot of those, and then the real legitimate partnership offers that are inbound are much more few and far between for me than they used to be. And it's not because, I mean, I'm growing and I'm still producing the same quality of content, but there are just so many more creators to choose from right now. And so even for me, like, I understand why a brand might partner with a creator with more followers, or even just same follower count but better engagement than what I have, because there's like 20 of those to choose from who still kind of capture the same audience and things like that. For me, the biggest thing I have to highlight for brand partnerships is my experience, to be able to say, I've been doing this for 12 years. I, you know, like you talked about your corporate skills translating to this job too. Like, I always respond to emails in a timely manner. If I ever need to reschedule anything, or if something's going to be late, I will let you know. I will explain what the plan is to keep moving forward. I deliver pretty in-depth like analytic reports after I do a brand campaign. Like, that's part of what makes me a good partner. But that's not always clear when you're just scrolling through Instagram and there's so many, you know, beauty creators, fashion creators, all doing the same thing.
No, I love that. We had the same answer to this, honestly, because it's like, you know, relationships really matter when it comes to brand partnerships, because, you know, you want the brand to come back, because, you know, there's no guarantee that you're gonna land another one-off like every month and stuff like that, and there will be months where you're hearing nothing from any brands, and so those relationships really matter. And I think like a lot of creators and influencers really lack on that professionalism like aspect of like how to make the job as easy as possible for the brand to be like, okay, like she just like was on time, no edits, gave me a report, like knows exactly what I'm looking for without me having to ask for it. Like, that is such like big corporate culture of like, this is how you get a promotion. That really matters. And like, for me, like, I get so many DMs from influencers asking to manage, and I'm just like, you can learn to manage yourself. Like, honestly, I think you should learn how to do that first before taking on another person, because one, it can get really expensive, and two, like, let's say you dissolve that partnership, like, how are you going to continue like that kind of cadence of like being professional and responding, you know, in the right way, things like that. Like, it all boils down to how you handle your own business. You probably answered this already, but like, what do you feel like would be the one skill that you didn't know how to do coming into being business for yourself, and how did you work on that skill and hone on that skill?
You know, the two things that come to mind are probably like time management and organization, and also SEO. And I think the SEO component is more relevant for anyone who creates like long form content,
Right.
but really like ad revenue has become such an important income stream for me, both from the blog and from YouTube. And the reason I've been able to grow my blog readership and grow my YouTube channel is because I'm getting my content in front of the right people. So if you create on a long form platform, absolutely SEO. I even have a few videos on my YouTube channel where I explain like SEO basics and how I optimize videos and stuff like that. But really like being proactive and like searching on Google, searching on YouTube, like how to do SEO, or like just looking for those basic resources and teaching yourself, I think is key. And then the time management component has been a little bit harder to teach, and like to teach myself, I mean. And I think like I do carry a lot of skills from previous jobs that I've had. Like when I was working for Jump Rope, the tech startup, we set goals on a quarterly basis. And I had just never thought to do something like that before. So we had goals to grow like our usership on the app. We had goals to increase the quality of content from people on the app. So it's like, okay, working backwards from a goal like that, how do we increase the quality of what people are creating on our app? We should create tutorials explaining like what makes a good jump rope, like what makes this good kind of step-by-step video. So, okay, so then this week I'm going to script my outline for the video. I'm going to film it on this day. We're going to publish it on the app and share it on our Instagram the next day. So then we're going to share it with a bunch of creators. Maybe by the end of the month, we'll take a look and see like what is the quality of content that's being created now versus then. Like to have those measurable goals like that just made so much more sense and was such like an unlock for me that I hadn't really thought about before, when it was like, okay, I wanted to post on my blog every week. That's not exactly a goal as much as it is like just adhering to my posting schedule. So I think really honing in on like, what is a goal worth my time right now? And why am I prioritizing this goal over other goals? Like, just being really smart and trying to like be strategic about these things. And one thing that really helped me with that was actually just building like a Notion hub essentially for keeping track of my goals and, you know, setting quarterly intentions. So I've actually like made it a template now so other creators can access it if they want to. But even like learning how to build that system took time to be like, I don't want to just have like a random to-do list floating on a piece of paper. I want it to be visible. What are my monthly priorities? And like, is anything I'm doing today in service of those goals that I have? Because if it's not, I might not get them done in the time that I want to.
Yeah, exactly. A dream without a deadline is just a dream.
That is so true.
Yeah, no, totally. I get what you're saying. It's like, especially when you jump into the space where you don't have a boss, no one's telling you what to do, no one's telling you when to show up or how to show up, no one's evaluating, you know, how good of a job you're doing. Like it can, you know, discipline really plays a huge part in it. As creatives, sometimes like we hate like, you know, structure, or like we hate like being, you know, confined into doing something for such a long time because we're so free, you know, we're free beings, but also at the same time, like that's what's going to get you to your goal. Like I've talked about this before. It's like, you know, I know a lot of like creatives like take pride into, oh, I'm a starving artist. And like, you don't have to be starving if you have structure, if you have this, you know, management, if you have systems and things like that, because, you know, you have something to work up to. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to get up today and, you know, do something, create a piece of content, but like, what are you doing with that piece of content? What is the end goal? Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're posting this.
Yeah. And I even feel like sometimes structure does create more freedom for you later. Like, totally. When I stick to my routine and I get things done, it makes me feel good then about if I'm taking like a vacation, that I know that I can actually for 4 days not think about work because I was disciplined and got things done before I took that time off.
Yeah,
and
that's so good.
Even having like 4 days that are mostly structured in my business, where frankly, like if you were a fly on the wall of my apartment, I might look like any other remote worker where I'm literally just like at my laptop or I'm doing things. But to then have like 4 days of structure and then one day that's a bit more free form where it's like, oh, I have an event to go to today. So while I'm out at the event, maybe I'll shoot my content today. To have everything else taken care of so that I can have those creative moments and I can have those creative days is really key. And I think when you're building a business like this that you want to have built for the long term, ideally, you still have to have like the day-to-day things still need to be happening in addition to you having those moments to be creative. So I feel like the structure helps me.
Yeah.
Because I have the time and I can really enjoy the time that I am being creative because I can feel good about everything that's gotten done.
Yes, exactly. Like for me, it was so important, like when I got into this, because you know my job or like my career was so high level that it's just like, if I'm gonna replace my high level job with this, like it has to make sense. I'm like, when I'm 50, 60, what is this career gonna look like? Or like, how is this income stream going to look like for me? Because I'm not going to be dancing, you know, for a TikTok video like when I'm 50, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like, how does that evolve? And so I guess like segueing into kind of like more supplemental income, like what is your biggest advice for like creators and influencers on like how they can create some sort of longevity with their career and like, you know, expand outside of like, you know, let's say brand deals or affiliate income? Like how can they get started with, you know, creating more other streams of income like outside of brand deals?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I think that the good news is it is really easy to get started with anything now. I think once you get started, it's just a matter of like asking yourself if you still like that type of content and you like that type of income stream and how much you're willing to scale it. Because like I said, my digital product started with one ebook that honestly just came about because I was like, I'm getting too many DMs about this and I feel like I'm forgetting to tell people things and I'm not answering clearly. So like, let me put it all together. I didn't know at the time that I would later launch like basically a whole suite of other digital products for content creators. But
that's so cool.
I loved the ebook so much. And when I saw people actually buying it, I was like, wait, people would probably also buy like an influencer invoice template or my brand campaign wrap-up report that I said I do for brands. Like I sell that template so creators can edit it on Canva if they want to.
It's
the
such
Notion Hub.
Such a hack. It's such a hack.
Yeah, it's so great because I have these resources that I'm using. So just making them available to others is key. So that was like kind of the beginning of the digital product income stream, which today, if you want to get started, you could literally like write an ebook, make it on Canva, make it look beautiful. And I sell my digital products on my own website where I'm already driving traffic to my website. But if you don't have that traffic source like on your own website, put it on Etsy because people are already on Etsy. They're there to shop. They're just looking for products that they want that are going to help them in some way. So if you don't have the traffic, go to Etsy. If you do have the traffic, you could host on your own. I use like a Squarespace commerce site or Shopify on WordPress. Like it's so easy to get started now with stuff, which is cool. Same thing with ad revenue. As soon as you hit the threshold for your YouTube channel, like it'll turn on right away as long as you submit that you're interested. So once you hit the watch time and the subscriber metrics that are required, you can start earning ad revenue right then and there. For any bloggers out there, Mediavine, which is a very prestigious ad network for bloggers, recently released a new program called Journey by Mediavine. And the threshold for that is much lower. So for regular Mediavine, you need 50,000 monthly page views to qualify. For Journey by Mediavine, you only need 10,000 monthly page views to qualify. So if you're around that threshold, you can see if you qualify for that program. And that's such a great way to get ads on your site and start earning money. Again, if you've been blogging for a long time and you have all this content, if it's getting discovered, you know, people can come to your blog and just by viewing the ads, you're making money, which is cool. And I started a membership community at the beginning of 2022. I actually just chose to shut it down. So I think that, I think that there's a lot to say for like giving each income stream a fair chance to see how it can grow and what you want to turn it into. But if at any point you're not loving it, just like knowing your exit plan and making sure that you can close things down kind of neatly. But for me, the recurring membership model, I didn't have enough people in it, and I wasn't charging a high enough monthly price where it ended up being...
For it to justify, like, the energy that you're putting in. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you could argue I could have raised the price. I could have offered more things, but it just wasn't something that I was looking forward to doing. And I didn't want to keep it going just for the sake of, you know, the members who were in there paying the $5 a month to access the resources. So I think that trying out different things, because you might be someone who loves a membership model where that's one of your main income streams. But for me, it was a supplemental income stream that was starting to stress me out more than it was bring me joy and make me feel like I was helping people.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally understand. I remember like having to try that membership model, and then I didn't like it because I was just like, okay, like this is not gonna be enough to like sustain myself, and then I have to show up like X amount of times every single month or every day or whatever. Like I remember having to shut down my mastermind as well. Like I really loved it for the aspect of like having like the retreat portion, because like I got to see my students and my clients like in person, and then they would have like, you know, we'd fly to like a specific location and like do kind of like weekend, you know, business planning and things like that. And I really loved that, but it was just like energetically, and then also like how much I was spending, like it didn't really make sense. And so yeah, there's definitely like lessons to be learned, and it's just like knowing how to pivot and just be like, okay, what can I do next, and things like that, or like what can I try next, and just being open to that.
It's so true. And like, again, even affiliates for me, right? Like I still have the affiliates income stream, but it is consistently year over year, usually like 5% or less of my total business income.
Right.
But that's okay, because like I can still share links during Prime Day or the Sephora sale and things like that. I have links on actually my blog and YouTube channel that I feel like convert the best, because usually people are reading or watching more on desktop or more with intention versus just like an Instagram link story sticker.
Right.
But again, like it's okay that it's not the biggest part of my business, but it's not like an active time suck for me the way that the membership was. And I don't mean to call the membership a time suck, but I just mean in terms
like
of
you had to show up like so much more than you would the affiliate.
Absolutely. So in that sense, it really is just so easy to say like, oh, you guys like my necklace today? Here's a link. Great. Like when someone asks for it. But if I were spending like, you know, 20 hours a week on affiliates, I would expect to be making more like 30% of my annual income.
Like 50 grand a month.
Yeah. So I just know that like at my current scale, I am better off prioritizing even like my digital course now, which like is also something that I launched recently, because I love the one-to-many model.
Yes, exactly.
I like consulting, but I just mentally and physically don't have a ton of bandwidth to do it. So I've raised my rates to the point where the only inquiries I get now are the ones that are really serious. Yeah, because otherwise, I just don't have as much time to do like a one-on-one situation. And I feel like I can help so many more people through like my YouTube content that people get to watch, and I earn ad revenue from digital products that people buy, you know, that are pretty evergreen, and through the digital course where you're in a group still, but like at least for that part of it, I'm able to help. And everyone might have, you know, someone else might have had the same question you did. So we're all together where it can just be answered in one place, which is nice.
Yeah. 2 nuggets there for you guys. Like 1, you need to know what you can leverage. Like every single creator is not the same. So like aside from followers, views, things like that, what is it that makes you stand out? For Austen, obviously it's her experience and where she wants to be dedicating her time in, and you have to be able to know how to get really big clarity on what that is for you specifically.
Maybe even just finding like an income stream that makes sense for you, because I think, you know, I don't know about you, but I scroll through my TikTok For You page a lot, and it'll be like, I made X amount from the TikTok shop this month. And it's like, I don't want to be creating a bunch of TikTok shop TikToks. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that the commission rates are high, and if you go viral, there's potential for a big payout, but that to me is just very unreliable as an income stream.
Exactly.
And when I look at like my checks from, you know, YouTube and my blog ads, like those are very consistent each month. So it's really reassuring, especially as someone who's self-employed, to almost have that like consistent baseline income where then like, oh, if I get a brand deal, or oh, if I sold a bunch of these necklaces from that affiliate link, then it's like a bonus. But it's
like
not
a cherry on top.
It's not like my livelihood depends on 20 people clicking on my link and buying a necklace, you know?
Right. You were talking about the one-on-ones or like the consulting. I did the exact same thing where I raised the price so high. Like if you can afford it, like you get access to my time 100%. But like if not, here's the other solution. And that's just because like for me, like my time is so valuable because especially when you're doing consulting or like even in any program where you're like helping other people, there's a lot of prep work that goes behind it. And like, you know, you have to make sure that you're like 100% mindset ready, things like that. And like, if it's like something like an ebook or a course or something like that, you record it one time, create it one time, update it a few times, and like it serves so many people.
Yeah, and even I did a consulting session recently with a YouTuber who reviews handbags. Like her whole channel is like, what's
cute.
worth your money and everything. And she's actually like a faceless content creator. And at first when I was watching her videos, you know, so you're only seeing from like her chin down and stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, I'll have to ask her in our session like why she does this. But then like I was binging so much of her content that I got to one of the videos where she was like, you guys are probably wondering why I don't show my face. So like when you're talking about the prep work that goes into a consulting session, like I binged this girl's almost entire YouTube channel before our session.
Yeah, it's
so
a
like
lot.
That's a lot of hours of me watching her content and taking notes and like trying to get organized before we go into our session so that when I go in, I'm not just like, oh, why don't you show your face in a video? I'm like, oh, I know you mentioned you don't show your face in a video for XYZ reason. Like, so given that, like, do you ever want to reveal yourself, or would you rather like continue on and be a faceless creator? Because it's totally possible, but like that also changes the direction of the conversation. And I think she was happy with the fact that I knew that, even though it was like 8 videos past like her most recent one. So that is a big reason why for consulting, like it comes at a higher price, but like it will be worth it if you're getting that kind of zoned in personalized attention. But to me, I just can't do that for everyone at all hours of the day. So that's why the one-to-many model is much more like personally helpful for me.
Yeah, even for like my management clients, like I study their content. I guess like that's what makes me do my job the best, is like because I literally stalk my clients in a sense where, you know, and that's what they pay for, is that I know how to advocate for them and I know like what their strengths are without them having to tell me. It requires so much of your energy that like, you know, sometimes I'm like in my inbox for like, usually I give it like a couple hours a day, but there would be times, especially during the holidays, where it takes so much longer that at the end of the day, I'm just like, I'm wiped. Like, no one booked me for like another like week.
I am not available.
Yeah, exactly. Like I specifically like block out like times on my calendar just so that people won't book.
I think there's also like an exclusivity factor to that though, even just knowing like, oh, maybe I can't get this as much. And like that's something that I used when I was launching my course, because as of right now, my course is on like a live launch model. So I'm not currently enrolling new students. There's like a wait list on my website. But when I am live launched, like I did find that having my cart open for only that limited time was kind of an enticing factor for people to be like, okay, I better get in now, because like I don't know when she's going to reopen doors. And spoiler alert, I didn't even know when I was going to reopen doors again yet for the course, you know? So it's like to have, you know, a certain amount of time, or to only have a certain amount of slots, like not only does that help you focus on who's actually there, but like it does add this cool factor of like, oh, I got to get in while it's hot, because like if I miss the sign up, then I miss the sign up, you know? Creating some sort of exclusivity, like you said. My podcast name is called Own Your Influence, and I created that because I wanted people to kind of take back the word influence for themselves, because of, you know, just the way that, you know, the connotation has kind of taken us. There's so many people that don't like influencers, or like when you walk down the street, someone says, you know, an influencer is like an Instagram model. Like, how are you taking ownership, or taking back the ownership of the word influencer or influence? Like, how would you define that for yourself? You know, this year, it's really been so much more about just trusting my gut and really leaning into like what I want to do, because I built a following in the first place because people liked my voice and seeing my stories and my personality come through. So I think that leaning into the things that make me feel like I'm putting on that best version of myself when I am creating content, not necessarily like an inauthentic version, but really just like putting my best foot forward and feeling good about the content that I create. And for me, that has absolutely been in my long form content this year. So like, even if it's not the trendiest thing to do, like I am building my blog because I can see the potential revenue that I can be making, and the fact that it is such a cornerstone of my business and can only continue to help me years from now. And it's like a longevity factor to me versus worrying about doing something that is cool just for the sake of doing it. Like obviously it's more of a serotonin boost when you go viral on TikTok, but like when you get that blog ad revenue paycheck come through too, like it's really, it's an exciting
when you're
feeling.
like, oh, I didn't even work for this, you know what I mean?
Or my past self worked so hard so that now I can just like have this, which is really cool too. And yeah, so for me, it's like doing what feels right to me, even if it's not like the thing that people might think I should be doing. Like I can have influence on YouTube, I can have influence through a podcast. It doesn't all just have to be the cookie cutter,
like the popular one, or like the most attractive one.
Totally. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And so I guess in closing, like, do you have any advice for the next generation of content creators and influencers?
I would say, honestly, just don't burn yourself out. Like, hold on to your creativity, prioritize quality over quantity, and just find ways to make this sustainable and make it a long-term career if that's something that you really want, because I think that it certainly can be. And like, I see myself in one way or another, you know, creating content or making YouTube videos or emailing my list, even just with like updates and stuff. Like, I see myself doing that far into the future, but it might not look like exactly what you said. Am I going to be a 50-year-old dancing and being like, here's Rihanna's new Fenty lipstick, guys, like let's swatch it together? Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but just to find ways to continue to set yourself up for success. It's almost like investing, right? Like finding things that can compound, finding things that you can scale, but still finding ways to maintain your creativity. So
I love that.
If you're posting 5 times a day on TikTok, you deserve a break.
Exactly. Or like, get yourself to a point where it's a joy for you to show up 5 times a day. You know what I mean?
That's the real tea there, because again, even if you're making passive income from like digital products or like affiliate revenue, like then when you're creating, it's not because you're worried about metrics or impressing an algorithm or impressing a brand. It's because you're creating something that you truly love, and that's going to attract more people than anything, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And where can we find you?
Oh, so I am everywhere at Austen Tosone. I thank my parents for giving me a unique name so that I could have my handle on all platforms.
Yeah, I love that.
And then my blog is Keep Calm and Chiffon, and my podcast is Create and Consume.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming in and having a chat with all of us. Thank you so much for all the nuggets.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, this is really fun. We need to do, maybe we'll do a part 2 or something like that.
Oh, if you ask me, I will be back.
Awesome. I love that. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.